Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. I'm Kristin Sokolov, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ronnie Ward. Today, we're jumping into something a little bit different, Ron. But first, I have seen a lot of posts recently on Instagram, and your coaching business is booming. Please update me.
Oh my gosh, Kristin, it is exciting. The word gets out, but we do some really unique stuff combining neuroscience, psychology, and leadership lessons. And frankly, people are just really loving it. We're getting testimony after testimony. People are getting promoted. They're making more money. I did a post.
Yes.
I never talk about money, but I did a post. We had people getting bonuses, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that really would be, because you truly are changing lives, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, it is. So, Kristin, this episode's a little different, but since the beginning, Kristin always says where leadership meets entertainment. Well, we're going to let those two collide, and they're going to meet today for
on
sure.
Entertainment.
Yeah, we're stepping into something that's been all over the news, the media, and the public legal conflict between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. On the movie, It Ends With Us, which I think is a little ironic because it's definitely ended with them. But we're going to delve into that.
Yeah, and that I actually really liked that flick. It was excellent. And before we go any further, let's be clear. This is not as much about gossip, but a lesson that what is done in confidence might end up in court.
Oh, so we're not going to gossip? I thought we would. I'm kidding. No, we're not here to decide who's right or wrong. I could certainly give my opinion, but we're here to talk about leadership, communication, tone, and what happens when private messages become public evidence.
Oh, yeah. And let's talk about, Ron, tell us why this matters.
Well, I will say this. One reason it matters is because it involves Hollywood, and an A-lister, especially Blake Lively is probably an A-lister, married to Ryan Reynolds, who also sent some texts. Yeah, another A-lister who sent some text messages that do not appear to be so favorable. So I think this is in the public eye more than anything, but what we are explaining here can happen to anyone, any business. And it also matters because it's been this gradual, these civil cases can last for months and up to years. And this didn't explode in one dramatic event. It escalated through everyday communication, text messages, assumptions, frustration, and tone. And that is not just Hollywood. It happens every day in workplaces across the United States and the world for that matter.
I think before we dive into the text messages that are making their way into the courtroom, can you catch our audience up on what exactly has transpired here?
Yeah, let's do that. The movie It Ends With Us. Now, this is all allegedly, but Blake Lively wanted more control. She wanted to make edits to the script, and this kept getting more intense. Her husband, Ryan Reynolds, got involved and basically was praising his wife that she could make better edits. So Justin Baldoni owned the rights, and this is from a book series. There's 3 of those, I think. And he owns the rights. But it does appear that Blake Lively kind of took control. Now, there were some sexual harassment claims from Blake Lively during the making of the movie, and having an intimacy coordinator, and all of that stuff is going to have to play out. But this one has everything to make it juicy. But again, we're trying not to get so much into that as we are the leadership lessons that we can learn. But that is, in general, what the suits are, the sexual harassment, the fact that there's been slander toward both, they claim, and then we've got big names like Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, and things like that happening. So it's got it all. It's got everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So he owned the rights, and was he the producer?
He was the producer, and that was one of the text messages was like, Blake Lively was saying, this doofus or whatever, he's the producer, writer, and doesn't know what he's doing. basically.
Okay. So she was hired as the talent, right? Not
Lead
to
actor,
be
yes.
lead actress. So, and generally, like you're the actor. Like you do what you're hired for a role, right? She wasn't hired to be a co-creator, to my
Right.
knowledge.
Or an
Okay.
executive producer,
or an
any of
executive
that.
producer. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think it's important. Yeah. That's a good stage to be set because now we understand how outlandish it is when somebody who it's like Ron, like you hire somebody and then now they're trying to tell you how to do your job, right? Like that wouldn't bode well. So some of the most talked about material in this lawsuit isn't testimony. It is text messages, like you mentioned earlier. They were later included in court filings and reported by major media outlets. And we're going to read some short excerpts that have been publicly reported, not to judge per se, but to listen to how they land.
Yeah, that's very true. And I will say this, Kristin, that I always have mixed feelings when someone's private texts are brought to light. Because, you do feel it's an invasion of privacy, but also there has to be some protections when you make false claims against someone, if there's false claims. So it's a difficult dichotomy to wade through, but let's look at, this is the one that's making the biggest news as we record this. Blake Lively in a text message to Taylor Swift, it says, if you get here while the doofus director of my movie is still here, can you do me a huge favor, ? And Taylor appears to have been more than happy to help. And apparently Blake wanted her to use her star power to get Justin Baldoni to accept Blake Lively's edits to the script. So there was a little bit of that they built up. Now, not to get too much into gossip, but apparently their relationship has collapsed due to all of this controversy.
Blake and Taylor?
I do understand. Yeah, and I understand that Taylor probably did not want to be involved. So anyway.
Yeah. So here we have in the text message, so she's saying doofus director, okay. And then but the thing that stood out to me is of my movie, right?
Yeah.
Did that stand out to you at all?
It
that
did
possession?
Completely, because I'm always sensitive that me and I. And also, Kristin, this is what's reported is that Justin Baldoni he couldn't go to the premiere of his own movie. He had to be downstairs or something with family members. And also
because
cover,
of this?
Yes, because Blake demanded it. And then on the cover, if you look at the cover, it's got his back turned. It's just her face when that wasn't the original cover. So there was a power. It was a power trip. That's why I'm just grateful.
Interesting.
I'm just grateful Kristin lets me have my picture on the podcast.
I knew that was going somewhere. Like that's why I'm like, let me pause. Finish your sentence. Oh my gosh, that is funny. Okay,
we're having a little fun, but go ahead.
We should. Yeah, we should. Well, text message. Let's read the excerpt number 2 here.
Okay.
So Taylor Swift in a text exchange with Blake Lively reportedly wrote. Okay, let me read this. Let me make sure I'm quoting it here. And she's talking about Justin Baldoni.
Yeah.
I think he knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin. Of course, this has put Taylor Swift in the spotlight. So sorry, Swifties. Oh my gosh. Are there Swifties that listen to us, Ron? I guess there's probably a few, maybe closet Swifties.
Well, I'm a guitar songwriter.
You're like me.
Oh my goodness. We should not be. This is horrible. Why are we laughing? But anyway, this is the question I want people, if you're listening, I want you to ask yourself.
Yeah.
If you heard that about the tiny violin, would you, and I know it's supposed to be private, but would your argument be, oh, I was kidding. I wanted to be humorous. I wanted to be sarcastic. That is the problem that we are going to show with text messages.
Right. Exactly. All right. Why don't you give us the third
and I know, I focus on body language, but if you strip out tone, facial expressions, all of that stuff, it is well known that sarcasm always lands colder than intended. So we have to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to?
Absolutely.
You want me to hit number 3?
Let's hit it.
All right. Blake Lively later wrote, it rings different when he doesn't end the story by saying, did I always listen when they said no, like he did with me? Now, that I think is tied to the sexual harassment that she is alleging. And then In a separate exchange, weeks later, Swift sent a link to a report of Baldoni being dropped by his agency and told Lively, "You won, you did it, and you helped so many people who won't have to go through this again."
That's something.
Yeah. Now, there is a voice message of Justin Baldoni that was played to Lively, but he seems to be going overboard to appease her. So there's nothing that's going to come out of that. But anyway, Melvin Williams, a professor of communication and media studies at Pace University, says the spiteful nature of Swift and Lively's text doesn't reflect well on either woman, and both have probably lost some fans as a result. And then when it comes to texting, Rob Shooter, who is host of the Naughty But Nice podcast, offers celebrities and everyone else the same advice. If you wouldn't post it, don't send it.
Oh my gosh. That's probably like the best sentence out there for that grouping of people. I mean, it's great advice for everybody.
It is. And he went on to say, "I don't send a text message or an email that I could not take a screen grab of and post it on Instagram," he says. I think people are much more careful.
Yeah. Wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, and Kristin, let's think about that. Imagine that you are texting and it's going to be in the public eye. And of course, if you're celebrities, it's going to be everywhere. That's something that people didn't have to deal with years ago. Maybe emails.
I know. Yeah, seriously. And then every little move you make is, people can just pull out their phone and record you. And so it's definitely a lot different. Everything's elevated.
Yeah, we're living in some kind of a technological fishbowl or something. But from a leadership perspective, these texts are gold because that's where intent and impact collide. They may say, "Oh, I intended the little violin to be a joke," but the impact was severe. And what one person experiences as self-reflection in private, another experiences as selective storytelling.
These people, it's so funny because, I've seen this in the news and I did watch that series. Is it a movie or a series? I'm trying to remember. It's been like 6 months.
Well, it's a 3-movie deal, but I think it's
a 3-part. Yeah, I think it was like a 3-part series okay.
No, it's 3 movies.
3 movies. Okay.
And the one movie was It Ends With Us. I'm pretty sure on that, Kristin.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was excellent. It's just been a little while since I watched it, but it's so funny because like all of this and then we see how Hollywood acts at their award ceremonies and they're just so out of touch with reality. And like we're breaking this down because it's very public, but it's so funny. This stuff happens at companies every day. It just they don't have the money to buy the fancy lawyers, right? And they don't have the public eye wanting to know every move they're making. And it just reminds me, like I said, like how out of touch Hollywood is with reality.
Kristin, I've said this before, but I have actually been victim of this and I can't talk about it. But I will say that I was vindicated, but didn't involve text messages, but it certainly involved emails, records, and those kind of things. So trust me, this hits close to home for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think as we start talking about business here, tone is never neutral because I may have a tone and I think it's nothing, but when you're on the other end, it may have a whole different sound. That's the problem with texting and the problem with emails. Yeah. And leaders often, how many times have you heard this? "Oh, that's not how I meant it."
Yeah.
But intent
I was just going to say, Ron, I think, real quick, because this is a hot button for me. I think it's ridiculous that people have to even say that because it's like you and I, we've been communicating for 2.5 years. We've never once had to backpedal and be like, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way." We've never once because we're not inept. And when people can't communicate via text message and they blame it on text messaging, no, you're inept. You can't read your audience. Your brain doesn't work well enough to tell you maybe doing K with a period is sending this passive aggressive message. even though that wasn't your intent, how about you read it before you send it? It just irritates the hell out of me. And I'm glad, people want to say, oh, I didn't mean it that way. But how about you smarten up and actually maybe read a text message to yourself before you send it and see how it lands with you? I just find it infuriating.
No, you're right. And without getting too deep, we all have we see perspectives all around us, but then we develop a perception. And the big mistakes that leaders make is they think other people's perception matches theirs. I tell everyone that's writing a book or doing things, you can't be your own avatar. You've got to understand that people do not think alike. They don't phrase things the same. They don't hear the same tone. So this is where we have to be careful. And anything that we say, and from a leadership standpoint, anything we say, right, or whatever, does have the potential to go public or be in court.
Absolutely. So riddle me this, though. So we've communicated via text mainly for, obviously we record once a week, but we're texting back and forth for 2.5 years. Again, I don't recall a single time where we've had to go, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Or maybe we did send something and we immediately say something, or, write something back, like a follow-up, like making sure it lands. So why are you and I, who we don't think alike, we have very different opinions and different approaches, why are we able to successfully communicate via text, but so many people struggle with it?
I'm so glad you asked that question, but I want to ask you this. What if our text went out in the public forum and there's me giving you a hard time for being late again and you laughing about it? But what if people read that? There is that risk. I get what you're saying, but you and I know each other's intent. We've talked a lot, but sometimes kidding around. I'm just saying if someone explored our messages, they might be able to say, oh, this guy's mad. He's mad at her for being late or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So your point is right, but it also confirmed the other point that it may not have bothered you and I, but who knows the way it would be perceived. Now, these are a little more obvious, of course.
Yeah. And then, of course, the public, I think that's another thing is people are so obsessed with Hollywood, right? And they want to get into Hollywood's business, which says a lot probably about what's going on or not going on in their own home. So the public is so interested in this because these people are in your living room, right? You're watching their movies and you've seen them in great flicks. But it is interesting, right, Ron? Because it's like people like you and I, like if our text messages went public, whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's, oh, someone might think you're, oh, he gave her a hard time. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Or but if when they're Ron, you're my hero.
Exactly. But at their level, it's like people are all, and then of course, now we have it. You and I aren't suing each other, right? So like there's that aspect of it too. And that's where it really gets nasty. Yeah. But I was more or less like just thinking about like just people in general blame, oh, text messaging. It sounds, I had that happen recently, Ron, where somebody we collaborate on a lot of things on social media. And I was asking why a certain person was allowed in our little group because they are a big troublemaker. And so the text message response was insane. Like, it was like, am I on the same planet as this person? And I literally said, call me. And we were talking. He's like, I'm the worst texter. I'm like, you really are. You like really, really are. Like you seem so angry and psychotic in a text message. And so you have to, and I like called him out because I was like, that was like, I felt batshit crazy reading your text messages. So it's really important that if people have had to explain themselves and say I'm a bad texter or I didn't mean that in my text messages, you're inept somewhere and you need to look within.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Ask me how I really feel.
A lot, what I meant. Yeah, I started to go, how do you really feel, Kristin?
It drives me nuts.
What I meant to say, if you have to say that a lot, if you have to explain yourself a lot, the problem's probably you. And Kristin, this is something that I mentioned one other time, but power changes how the message lands. When I first got promoted to Academy Director, I sent a text and I just told there was someone teaching and I said, hey, when you finish up, stop by and see me. I didn't think a thing about it. I'm a new leader. I get a huge first break. Is anything wrong? What do I need to be prepared for anything? And I was like, oh, I obviously made this person really nervous. So from then on, I would always go, hey, can you stop by? I need to talk about that article or ballistic vest, whatever it is. I put the reason because I realized my position had changed. Now, if I'd just been another instructor, wouldn't have been a big deal. You have to recognize the color of your authority, and it certainly changes the weight of that message.
Yes, I'm so glad you talked about that, because that's like being able to reflect and like, okay, because I could see where that person's coming from. They thought they did something wrong, quite frankly, like, and they didn't want to like prolong it and worry about it all day. They're like, wait, just tell me now, right? I've been in that position before, and you were just innocently saying, hey, I'd like to chat with you about something, but it's like, business as usual. So yeah, I mean, I think if more leaders could reflect on that and realize why it landed the way it landed, we'd be in a much better place in most
organizations. But I did wonder, what has this person done? Why are they worried?
Yeah, it could. It's probably just, sometimes it's just a lack of confidence, some personal uncertainty. I think that's generally what it is. Maybe they haven't been told they're doing a great job, good enough, like by the prior leader. It's a whole slew of potential, reasons.
And Kristin, this is free advice. I've never mentioned this before, but people talk. So I remember after I terminated an employee or suspended someone, it was all confidential in my office, but boy, did word spread quickly. And I promise you, people acted nervous around me for weeks.
Oh, wow.
It changed the whole climate. So always remember, people talk. And they usually find out what's going on, especially, in termination, of course they're going to talk, but even in some lower level action that I took, I found out that people knew about it. So,
as long as it didn't come from you, you're good.
Yeah.
The circling of information.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Give us the third one, Kristin.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked about this a little bit. Defensiveness. It locks conflict in. So once someone feels misunderstood, the instinct, that human instinct, is to explain, justify, or correct. But leadership requires validation before explanation. So explanation without acknowledgement, it feels like dismissal.
It really does. If someone says, hey, what I meant to say or whatever, and then you don't hear back, you're like, that didn't do any good. It's settled.
Right.
It's done. They hate me.
Exactly. Yeah. I know. I can't. Yeah, that would be a very uncomfortable situation to be in. Yeah. And you talked about screenshots earlier, or the text messages. Like if you wouldn't post it, which I love that. I'm gonna live by that, Ron. If you wouldn't post it, don't text it. Those screenshots, once they exist, something really shifts.
No, it does. And, the goal stops being resolution and becomes reputation protection. There is a certain point, and I've seen people develop a criminal mindset where they just start to blame everybody else. It's on, I've done everything I can. I'm getting my lawyers. I'm getting statements replace conversations. Like, there's no way that Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are going to sit down in a room and chat now. It's over, like it's already been too bad. And then audiences, especially in this case, audiences become juries. I've read posts where people just loathe Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, but I've also read some posts from females like Justin was a creep and, about the intimacy coordinator stuff. So you don't even know who to believe. And the one thing about court is they have to look at the evidence instead of just public opinion. But the bottom line is leadership options shrink quickly. Like now they're out of options. It's on. It's my side against your side, my lawyers against your lawyers, and then there's public opinion with these guys. And I don't know what's going to happen to their career long term, but we know Justin Baldoni already got dropped by his company, and I can't imagine anybody hiring Blake Lively to star in a movie. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe for a smaller cost, because you're taking on, seriously, you're taking on a liability. And that's the other thing. And this happens in every industry too. Either, whether you're right or wrong, when you engage in something like this, even if you're the victim of sexual harassment in the workplace, it could very well be that your next employer, especially if it's in-house, right, that they would be nervous to have somebody that has accused somebody else of something under them, right? Because it's like, could this happen to me? And could I be innocent and be accused of this and be found guilty? Like there's that piece of it that most people don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So whether you're the victim or not, it's going to stain your reputation.
That's exactly right. And Kristin, I wanted to make one other point. When I was a deputy sheriff, I'm like 22 years old. I go to this domestic situations going on, and I remember I was with another cop. We had to separate them, like they're calling each other every name in the book. And I remember when I left, I thought to myself, these two people exchanged vows that they would love each other forever. And I mean, they hated each other on a level I'd never seen at that age. And people need to understand this. If you're managing people, I had a very good relationship in that situation that I said I can't go into. There were jokes, text messages that we sent.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, those were never used, but you might think someone is your bestie. And I've seen this over and over. And then it goes south and everything's on the table then, or off the table, whichever expression you want to use. People, when they get angry, they will do anything. And I've seen businesses implode. I've seen partnerships implode, marriages, and of course, situations between coworkers. So be warned.
Yeah, absolutely. Your hair looks really nice today, Ron. Did you, did you ditch the gel like the other day?
Kristin, because you complimented me, this is the power of words. I thought, I think I'm going to try just doing the dry look for a little while.
Yeah.
Looks like I got more bangs or something.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it looks
you, Kristin.
good. You are welcome. Your hair looks like just more full and, it looks good. But it's funny, like if I would have put that in a text message, see how that could be, and I'm being genuine right now.
Did you say I looked bald before?
Right. But so if that was in a text message, could that be seen as inappropriate? Right.
And now if you're listening, should I say, Kristin, you look nice as well? Or what do I do now?
I'm just saying, I'm bringing it home. I'm saying, right. Things, it's wild. It's just a wild world. Like you can mean one thing and then it's in writing and you can have it misconstrued. And then, it's just, it's just really wild. And I think what we're seeing here with this situation is, like you mentioned, there's definitely a power struggle. Justin, what's his last name again?
Baldoni.
He's not an A-lister, right? He's probably more on the producing end. Okay. So you definitely have a power imbalance as far as like from the public eye point of view. He might have, more like this was his baby, right? So he was supposed to be the one in control. But look at her. She's a household name. Look at her husband. He's a household name. Look at one of her dear friends, a worldwide household name, right? Yeah. So that is a lot for Justin. I don't know what he did or didn't do, but that's a lot for him to be up against. It just really, it comes down to that. And this is just wild. Just for that alone, just who's involved, it makes this a wild case to follow.
Yeah, it really does. This has been an interesting podcast. And I want to just recap. Just remember what you say in private can, number one, be misconstrued. Number two, it could end up in a hearing. And also remember the power dynamic. If you're a manager and you're talking to someone and you've got power and authority over them. Yeah. And also, you just never know how the listener is going to interpret it. So if you would do what Kristin said earlier, read your text out loud just one quick time and make sure, like, for example, and I know this is so simple, but you send to someone, Kristin just said, my hair looked good. If she'd have said, your hair looks hot, and you put that in the public spectrum, and then boom, it explodes. So some word choice can help. It can't guarantee it when you're texting, but at least you got a safety net. If you said, you look nice today, I know we all took the old sexual harassment training. Instead of saying, you look good in that dress, you say, that dress looks nice on you.
Yeah.
There's ways to phrase things. But anything can end up in the public eye. And we're talking to leaders right now.
Right, exactly. So you can't be too careful. And this was interesting. I appreciate you putting it together because it's something, it's very Hollywood, but at the same time, as we broke down, this can play out and does play out in many industries. So it's something to be aware of all around.
That's exactly right. So we'll say this: if your leadership depends on being understood, don't rely on communication tools that strip out humanity. It's very important to remember that.
Yeah, that's excellent, Ron. Nice outro.
We would love to hear from you on this episode. Who do you think's at fault? What did we miss? I'm sure we missed some details, and some of you Swifties or some of you people that are into this story can let us know. Even if we're wrong, we love it. Let me know how my hair looks.
I'm digging the no gel look. I am. It looks nice.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
I got sidetracked. I've been looking at this guy's face for 2.5 years, so I notice when something is different.
Oh, I'm blushing. So be the leader you're meant to be.
We'll see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.